Nonprofit Visionaries. This is Shalita, the Nonprofitista O'Neill. And, my mission is to help community organizers and business owners to launch and revitalize organizations that are going to rebuild their communities from the inside out. So welcome back to our hashtag Nonprofit No Filter live discussion. How y'all feeling out there? Come on, you know how we do. Check in. Let me know where you are joining from. And if you are a Facebook user, make sure that you give StreamYard, click on that link to ask StreamYard to give your permission to use your name, because otherwise I can't see you. I can't see your name. You said, love this. Okay, so tell me what your name is, because it just says Facebook user. I want to know what your name is. Come on in. Now today, we have one of my mentors. I respect her so very much. Her name is Diane Bell-McKoy, and she is the executive director of Associated Black Charities here in Maryland. She's going to come on and talk about how do you build yourself and your organization to weather any storm. Now, y'all know we've been through a lot in the past year. I mean, a lot. There's so many different things. And especially if you're trying to, even if you have a business, right? Business, nonprofit, whatever endeavor that you've been trying to do. I know, we've been going through it, but there's always something. And I tell you all the time, there's always going to be things that are going to come up and challenge what you're doing in your organization or what you're doing in your community. And so we always have to be prepared to have a plan B, or to figure out, how do we maneuver this? And it all starts with us, right? And the type of leaders that we are and how we're showing up in the world, because then that influences directly our organizations, right? And our teams and the people that work with us. So later on at 12:30, Miss Diane is going to come on and just tell us more about her career and what she has learned as a leader. And yeah, y'all know how I feel about it. Look, we nonprofit visionaries coming up in here trying to do something, but you have to have historical context, and you have to reach out to those who have been around longer than you have, who have been doing the work longer than you have, just to see, how to navigate things. Okay. So I'm just giving y'all a heads up about that. So who's joining me? Come on. I see you. Come on in. See, it says Facebook user. You see how it says Facebook user? It said, love this. Who is that? Who is it? What's your name? Put your name in here so I can see it. What questions do y'all have? How are you feeling today? Hey, what's today? Okay. Because, days are going by so fast. It's hard to keep up with what day it is. But I know that Valentine's Day is coming up, right? Okay, that's a big thing. So are your organizations planning any events or, virtual? I know how that goes. But some of us are out here doing different things, socially distanced, like in the community, because the work doesn't stop, okay? What you doing out there? How you feeling? I didn't have a presentation up for y'all today, because I just want us to talk until Miss Diane comes on. And, I'll give you some of the lessons that I've learned too, running an organization. Y'all know I've been in this for a minute. I'm not new to this. I'm true to this. So I've been doing this work for about 20 years, whether it's building programming or running nonprofit organizations that I started, right? So, I know I've been around the block a couple of times, and I've experienced a lot of different things that have knocked me off kilter, right? That have really unexpectedly, created issues or learning opportunities for me. And that's one thing that I can say, hindsight is 2020. When I look back, I was eager, ready to, how when you're younger, don't get me wrong, I still have that. But when I was younger, I had no context. It's just like, look, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to create change in the community. And I'm going to go out here and I'm going to do it. And I don't care what nobody say. I'm just going to come up in here. I'm going to bust up in here. Right. And, that was a good thing, but there's lessons that I learned and challenges that I had no idea I was going to encounter running a nonprofit organization, or just trying to figure out who I was as a professional, as a Black woman, right, doing this work in Baltimore City, where I'm from. So, I learned a couple of different lessons. But one of the things that I learned too is that, and I tell y'all all the time, that when you're building your organization, your business, whatever it is, whatever endeavor, right, whatever manifestation of your vision that you are pursuing, it's going to be a representation of who you are at that time, right? So any triggers that you have, any issues that you are dealing with, any, whatever is going to come out in your work. And so my organizations were building me, different challenges that I experienced with people. I know a lot of times we talk about building a team. And I tell you about that, all the time, that if you're going to do this work, you have to build a strong team around you. And you start with your board members, but then there's advisory board members. There's different people in the community who help you with your work, right? But you, depending on what kind of leader you are, is going to determine the experiences that you have with these people. So a lot of times we like to externalize and say, oh my goodness, these people, I don't know about them, and they doing this, and they, I can't get with that. I can't rock with that. Every 5 minutes, you engage somebody around your organization, and then there's something, everything's great for 2 seconds, and then the next minute it's completely off. And there's a pattern, right? There's a pattern. If you are seeing a pattern, it's you, right? So take a look at how you deal with people. Are you, like how I was? We're in our head a lot. We have our vision and our dreams in our head, and we don't know how to communicate that in a way that other people can understand and know exactly what's expected of them. So a lot of times we have expectations of people in our minds, or things or stories that we create about them in our minds that we have not told them about. So when they don't rise to the occasion, then there's a problem, right? Or we might be carrying baggage where it's like, look, I don't like to be rejected, or, I want to be liked, or people pleasing, all those different things come into play. And then when you are recruiting people to be on your team, you look at the potential. Like, you don't see what's right there in front of you, right? You want to see the best in everybody. You want to, oh no, I know they didn't show up on time for that interview, or I know that they were late for this, or I know that they didn't show up at all for that, but I feel like, there's something there. Okay. When people show you who you are, who they are, believe them the first time. These are lessons that I've learned. And in life, we continue to remind ourselves of these lessons. Good afternoon. Okay, Miss Christie, how you doing? Thanks for joining. Today we're going to be talking about building yourself and your nonprofit to weather any storm. We have our special guest, Diane Bell-McKoy, that's coming on at 12:30. But in the meantime, I wanted to check in with y'all, and see how you're doing. And I was sharing some of the lessons that I've learned at running an organization, running different organizations and programs over the years, that I learned about myself. And hopefully by me sharing that with you, it might resonate, because it's always about learning. I don't care whether you just started a nonprofit, whether you've been running a nonprofit business, whatever the case may be, we all are continuing to learn on our journey. And that's another message that I would share, is that it doesn't matter how long you've been doing what you're doing or how much you think you know, there's always more to learn, and we can always learn from each other. So, I'm still learning different things. Okay, somebody say, hey, Lady B. Okay, tell me what your name is, because you see on here, it doesn't even say your name. I want to make sure I say hey back to you, okay, addressing your name. Y'all know I'm looking up here at the camera, then I'm looking down here at the comments and stuff too. So tell me who's checking in. Put your name in there. Put your organization in there. Whether it's a business, nonprofit, what you got, what you doing, what you're working on, so I can share it with everybody. Aziza, hey, how you doing? Come on in here. What you up to? Tell us how you feeling today. Just giving a little bit of any words of affirmation that y'all want to share with each other. We can never get too much of that. I was just sharing some of the lessons that I've learned running my organizations, and we're going to hear from Miss Diane later on, because she's been doing this work a lot longer than I have, and has in different capacities in the community, and in particular in communities of color too. So she's going to come on. Hey, Sherry. Yes, honey bunny. Come on in here. How you doing? How you feeling? I'm sending y'all love out there, giving you the energy, the love. I know it's trying times out here. But it's okay. You're not doing this alone. You're not doing this alone. And I'm also hoping that you're reaching out. I know I talk about collaboration all the time, but it is so important reaching out to other organizations in your community that are doing different things, right? They may not even work with the same population, but y'all are out here trying to improve the community. What coalitions are you joining? What convenings are you a part of? What committees are you a part of? Reach out to each other, and if you don't see one that's addressing the needs that y'all have, create one. Get a group of other nonprofit leaders together to encourage each other, to have a safe space. Because that's one thing too that I remember from, and even now, it's a little bit different the perspective that I come from it but when I was younger running my organization, it was lonely. And it's lonely for a lot of people, regardless whether you are leading a nonprofit organization or in leadership in nonprofits. Like, it can be very lonely, because when you want to talk about leadership stuff, or when you want to talk about, some high level type, experiences that are unique to being an executive director or being in leadership, it's hard, to find other people that you can sit and have, those groups, those places where you can have those conversations and feel supported. So, it's important. Create your own support group, create your own network, so that you're not out here feeling like, you're trying to figure this out yourself. And now that we got technology, and we have Facebook, and we have IG, and we have all these platforms, you can definitely, join groups that are meant for that. And I have one, Nonprofit Visionary Academy Facebook group. Make sure that y'all, join that too. So you said, okay, Sherry, you said, I'm doing good. Thanks for all of your support and for not withholding wisdom, because it is due. Absolutely. I'm gonna tell you, if I know something, you're gonna know something. So now's the time. If y'all have any questions about your organization, maybe you haven't started one yet, maybe you're thinking about it, maybe whatever, now's the time to ask some questions, and get some hashtag nonprofit no filter feedback. Okay, so Miss Christie, so you said 1 year nonprofit. Okay, via Zapata CDC, helping homelessness need help in many ways. Yeah, homeless individuals need help and communities in many ways. Thank you for being informative. Absolutely, y'all. And another thing that I would say too is, when we are out here running our organizations, to also look at, always remind yourself, like, we know that situations are dire, and we need, people, the communities that we serve need support right now. But there's also systemic issues and systemic root problems, right, that are in our communities that lead to what I like to call the symptoms, right? So we know homelessness, and we know incarceration, or we know the lack of jobs and things like that in our communities. Those are symptoms of something else, right? And so we step up to provide immediate support, but always be looking at, where does this come from? What's the historical context? And that might require it will require you reaching out to other organizations in the community that have that historical context, that have been around for a minute, right? And can actually can tell you what are some of the themes, like the thread over the years of things that have happened in the community, because if we can't identify what those things are, and if we can't call it out, then we're a Band-Aid, and we continue to be a Band-Aid. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to be a Band-Aid forever, right? I want to come in and be able to provide some immediate supports in a way that the community says is needed. But then I also want to help address with other people the issues, the underlying issues that people in our community are facing, so that we can fix those and dismantle those systems that are causing the problem, right? So always look at it through that. Oh, wait a minute. My cousin over here. Hey, Stevie, hold up. Okay. He said, hey, look, as I see you doing your thing. Great job. Thanks, cuz. You don't know how much that means to me. He's like my cousin brother, y'all. Like this, he's more like a brother to me. I love you. You gotta call me, bro. Okay. I gotta call you too. I know we both bad at that. But I love you. Thank you for joining. Look, and if you got any nuggets of wisdom, because I know you do, because my cousin have schooled me over the years, gave me information and stuff like that, and things I didn't want to see it. We got wisdom. We got wisdom in our family. So if you want to share something too, let me know. Come on here. So, and Ms. Christie, you said I wasn't aware of needing a business plan before starting a nonprofit. So how can I get help with that and more? So you and I, why don't you reach out for a consultation, a 15-minute free consultation, and we can check in and see what exactly that you need. Let me put I'll put my email address down here. So you can just shoot me an email. I'll send you the link. And I think there's like one other person too I need to actually send that link to. But yeah, let's talk about it, because it's different. When you're talking about a nonprofit, the language business plan is a little bit different. It's more like a strategic plan of what you want to do. And that's another thing, I think it's a big thing that you actually said that you needed to do that. A lot of people will start a nonprofit and do the paperwork and be like, bam, there it go. Paperwork done. And you're like, all right, now what? Right? So I encourage you that if you haven't done your paperwork yet, also think about, in the ideal world, right? What it would be easier, make it easier on the nonprofit visionary is if before you file your paperwork, you get a nonprofit coach, right? You who can help you, and whether it's somebody, you reach out to another nonprofit organization or someone who runs a nonprofit organization who you have a connection with, who might want to mentor you, right? If money is an issue and you're like, well, I don't want to pay anybody, or not that you don't want to, because you do want to pay people, right? You do want to invest in yourself, but maybe you're not in a position to do that. Well, reach out to someone who who runs a nonprofit organization and ask for mentorship. Now, this is when I say somebody I mean like somebody who you are connected with, because when you reach out to someone randomly who's running a nonprofit organization, you say, I want you to mentor me. That may or may not be welcome, especially if that person does charge, for coaching. But find somebody who you're connected with to say, hey, can you answer a couple things for me? I have a couple of questions, or get yourself a nonprofit coach, because you need to be thinking about your mission, your vision, your goals, the programming, your connection to the community first. And I had a consultation with a young woman about a week or so ago, and I told her, you need to check and see if what your idea is, if it's actually needed in your community, if your community wants it. For you to be on an island and be like, okay, well, I think this is what I want to do. And then I'm going to file this paperwork. And then afterwards, I'm going to come to the community and I'm going to be like, bam, here's what I think you need. And then, you're going to be disappointed, because when people do not receive you the way that you want to be received, because you didn't check in with the community to begin with. So especially too, because I've had people who have moved to a new city or a new place and they're like, oh, I'm about to start a nonprofit. And I say, well, what committees are you a part of? What work groups are you a part of? What boards do you sit on? Like, who do people know who you are? Right. And they're like, nah, I don't know nobody. I just got here, but I'm going to start this nonprofit. Don't do that. Please. Hashtag nonprofit, no filter. This is about relationship building. This starting a nonprofit, even though it's a vision that comes from you, it's not about you. It's not about you. You're starting an organization to help other people, but how can you help other people if you didn't even ask them what they need, right? And so a lot of times, especially if we're people of color and we're starting organizations, we're perpetuating the same behavior that we condemn, right? When people will, especially we have, predominantly white-led organizations that will come into our communities and tell us, here's a resource, here's what you need. We know why you don't have a job. We know why you need to do this. And we get pissed off, rightfully so. Because how are you going to come into a community and tell somebody what they need? They know what they need. So why we can't perpetuate that same behavior? So when you are coming into a community or you're thinking about starting a nonprofit, I urge you, right, to reach out to the community, get connected, do some volunteer work first. Find other organizations that do similar work. Maybe there's a gap, because there are millions of nonprofit organizations in this country. And the majority of them are inactive because of that. You file the paperwork and then it doesn't go anywhere. Or you're duplicating a bunch of services, right, that are already happening. And you don't know that because you didn't take the time to do your research and connect with people in the community. So take a look, volunteer with them and be like, okay, well, maybe they're working with the population that you do want to work with, but everybody can't do it all, right? So I'm sure there's things that they do really well. And there's some things that we don't focus on those things because that's not what we do very well. There's a gap. There's, we need some supports in these areas, and you'll be able to be like, oh, well, that's cool because I can do that, right? When you can see what other people, there's a gap here. They're not addressing this, then you can be like, and then you're already part of the community. Like, people know who you are because you go to meetings, because you show up, because you pay it forward, right? You volunteer in different capacities. They know who you are. So when you're like, oh, well, boom, I know it's needed because I've been here, I've been connected. Now I can start this organization and I have a clear picture. So you can bring that vision to strategic planning, right? To somebody like me, when we're ready to work and I'm ready to, that mission, vision, goals, their budget, all of that, when we're ready to do that, you will already have a good, viable concept because you've spoken to the community, and then we can go somewhere with that. And you would have already developed some level of connection and partnership, right, to the community. So when you come out and you say, hey, I got this idea, this nonprofit, launch this nonprofit, they're going to be like, oh, well, let me share it. Oh, well, I can help you with this. So, oh, you need board members? Okay, you'll be connected. And then at that point, you won't be like, well, man, I can't get no board members. Man, ain't nobody donating, because don't nobody know you. And you didn't take the time to get to know them, right? I'm going to tell you the truth because I love you. I want you to be successful, okay? So if anything, I've learned, okay, here she go telling me about what my schedule looked like. But okay, oh, Chantal, look, you said hello. Am I telling the truth or am I telling the truth? Listen, let me know if I'm saying something that ain't right, okay? Because I can take that, okay? That's some real information that I want y'all to really take, Yes, that's what we're doing. A woman, Alexa, hush, please be quiet. Thank you. You know what I mean? Because, then I feel mean, and stuff. Anyway, so those things like connect. Those are lessons that I have learned, right? And especially in communities where people are real cliquish, real cliquish. And then you come in talking about, I have an organization and I want to do this, and then they're like, well, where you coming from? You would be the same way, wouldn't you? Somebody come in your neighborhood, okay, come trying to tell you what you need or what they gonna do. And you're like, well, do you know so-and-so? Do you know so-and-so? No, I don't know so-and-so. Okay, well then, no, okay? So what's going on with y'all out there? Are y'all doing this? Like what collaborations have you made in your community, right? I mean, tell me, am I telling the story? Am I not being honest? What has been your experience with connecting, right, with the community? And maybe what kind of advice would you give to other people around that? Like when they're trying to come in and provide a service or develop relationships, what have you done that has worked? Or what are some lessons that you've learned? Drop them in the comments. I'm gonna share them with everybody. And that's another thing, we are all experts in different things. I might know different things and different things that I don't know. So we all can share information with each other that can be helpful. So what have you learned in your journey? Okay. Let us know. Chime in. Miss Diane is going to be joining us in a few minutes. But until then, freestyle a little bit. Tell, what's going on? What issues are you experiencing? But yeah, Miss Christy, you have to, you got to have a strategic plan, and it doesn't have to be something. That's another thing, dispelling the myths about that. Your strategic plan doesn't have to be 30 pages long. In fact, it should not be that long, right? It should be straight to the point. And especially, you can have a couple of different types of documents. Now you can have your strategic plan that you have internally, which might go into a lot more detail, right? Because it's like your work plan where you want to make sure you share that with your team and with your board members so that they know what's up, right? And then there's an accountability there. So you have action items and things like that. It might go into even deeper detail in that. But when you're sharing a strategic plan with somebody who's external to the organization, who just kind of want to get a good idea of who you are, that shouldn't be longer than about 3 pages. So I don't want y'all out here stressing and thinking, oh my God, I got to come up with this dissertation and my thesis. No, it's not the same. And even though the concept is the same or very similar with a business or with a for-profit, the content is very different. The business is like when you have your business plan and your pitch deck, it's really about, the consumers. It's really about like the bottom line, how much money, are your product, services, whatever, like you're going to business because you're trying to make a profit. Right? You're trying to make a profit, and not to say that you can't have a social good attached to that, but that's optional, right? We know that, we see that in our world. So it looks very different. The language is very different. It's not all touchy-feely, like that. Nonprofit is very different. And I think I went over this in one of our previous sessions, but nonprofit is like, that's the touchy-feely part. That's like, okay, so what in the community what are the issues in the community that you're trying to address? Right? How are you going to address those things? How are you going to measure that you're actually addressing those things, impact those are, the questions that you answer in your strategic plan for a nonprofit. And it's not, oh, well, I want to make $150,000 in the first year, and I'm going to do that by selling these services. Not to say that your nonprofit can't have fee for service or can't, sell merchandise or things like that. But the biggest place, or, where the pot of funding that you'll be getting is from the public. That's the whole purpose behind starting a nonprofit, right? Okay, so I hope that gave a little bit, Miss Christy, into, the business plan piece. You definitely need a strategic plan for your nonprofit. And as you grow, your strategic plan will grow. Like, it's supposed to be something that you actually use to guide what you're doing, not just, okay, I'm gonna do this plan, I'm gonna put it over here, and then, just to tell people I have one, but I'm not really looking at it. No, it's a living, breathing sort of document, right? That you're always working with, that will change as you grow, right? So don't get stressed out about it. Okay. What else? Who else? Come on now. Where you at? What y'all eating lunch? What you doing? Huh? What's on your mind? What's going on? Because I could talk forever, right? I could talk about it. But I want to make sure I'm talking about things that are pertinent to what you want to hear, what you're struggling with right now. We're all talking about funding. That's definitely something that, is always at the forefront with someone running a nonprofit organization, because the purpose is, you're not supposed to be using your own money. Oh, you said love the lip. Thank you. I don't know what I was doing today. I was like, I'm gonna put this gray on. I'm gonna put this on, and I would play around with it. Yeah, I know. I just love stuff like that. Thank you. I try to come on here, prepared and ready for y'all. You know what I mean? Like, this is, it's important. So I put a little face on for you. But yeah, so, what we always talking about money, always talking about raising funds, always talking about that, and honestly, there is no, and I know, we be on YouTube, and for my YouTube followers, hey y'all, I know we be on and looking for the secret sauce, like how I'm gonna make up this million, right away, like very easily, very quickly. And I'm gonna tell you, it's nothing, that doesn't exist, right? Anyone that tells you it's gonna be like easy and you're gonna get $1 million tomorrow, and there's the secret floating around that you don't know about, it's not true. The secret is relationships. The secret is patience, right? The secret is making sure that you are structured so that you're prepared. You think about it. If you run an organization and you're like, okay, I need some money to run this program. And then somebody comes to you and actually give you $500,000. What you going to do with it? Who are you going to hire? How are you going to hire them? What programs are going to get the money? Who's going to oversee? Who's going to make sure that your financial structures and your statements, your books are kept well? Do you have those types of things lined up? If not, you're not ready for $500,000. Mentally, you might, that sounds good, but prepare yourself, right? Structure so that you got your team. You have your internal policies and procedures and your structure, your financial structure, your bookkeeping procedures. Everything is in place. Your compliance, you're doing your 990s. We're entering tax season now. So if you have a nonprofit, I don't care if you made any money or not. If you have filed your paperwork and you have an EIN number and you file with your state, your articles of incorporation, you need to file 990s, either a 990 postcard or a 990N. You still need to file something. You may even have to file personal property tax with your state. If you don't do those things, then you could be sitting out here running a nonprofit and has been revoked. And you don't even know it until somebody who wants to give you some real money does their research and they're like, oh, I can't give you money. You've been revoked. So you have to make sure you build the infrastructure. So when that money comes, you got people to do the work and you have systems in place so that when a funder asks for, well, I need your financial statements, I need your profit and loss, I need your balance sheet, I need your audited financial statements, you know what they're talking about. And you be like, pick it up, ding, okay? Oh, and yes, Facebook user, put your name down there so I know you dropping jewels, okay? You say, don't be afraid to apply for PPP, forgivable loan, and use that to build your organization. Thank you, because I'm going to do that too for my foundation, because I didn't do it last year, and I should have. So yes, don't be afraid. PPP, call the bank that you bank with. even the Small Business Association, SBA, they have different, entities that you can call or people you can reach out to if you're not even sure how to do the paperwork or you need some guidance on that. Seek it out. SBA has guidance. Your bank, the bank that you bank with, right? You should have a representative at that bank that you can call and ask for some guidance as well. Do not sleep on this, right? Because we got these million and billionaires out here taking advantage of, of this, and then we're not. And it's designed for us, right? Self-employed, nonprofit, smaller businesses. So now's the opportunity to jump in there and take advantage of that. Okay, don't feel no kind of way about that. All right. And then we got definitely do it in stages. So can we talk about that? Like how to pay for different parts of structuring the organization and then moving into building essentially the dream. Say, hey, listen, what women, who's saying that? I need you. It says Facebook user. I want to know what's your name because you're talking. I know you. OK, I know you. OK, when you say the dream seed build, that's my joint. OK, so, yeah, we have to talk about it like that. When you have, and that's why I put so much of an emphasis on your board members, right? And the initial volunteers who know you and your immediate, and your immediate connections, because they're the ones that are going to help you get seed dollars and also introduce you to other people who can then maybe, a private foundation or, who can give you funding so that you can start doing the work. So that when it's time to apply for that traditional funding, they see that one, you already have seed dollars and you have support, but then also they see that, okay, well, all right, you've been doing some work here and you have some data, you have, what you're doing, to a certain extent, and they have a level of credibility that they give to you. So even in your bigger budget, and my Diane has joined. All right, I'm gonna bring her on in a second. I was about to wear my scarf. Okay, but yeah, we're going to touch on that. So having that initial individual donors, right, that then can help you, but you have to have a plan in place already on once you get those dollars, how are you going to phase things in? Because we might have a budget where we're like, best case scenario, I want to raise $200,000. And that's wonderful. But then you have to look at, okay, all that $200,000 is not going to come in at the same time. So you have to prioritize what's important. One is your salary, right? A certain level of salary that is reasonable based off of the money that you have coming in. And then you're going to need to start adding on maybe a support person to help you out with your programming and things like that. So you have to slowly, start to look at, as I'm getting money, what am I going to prioritize and put towards that? And then once you have a team in place that's doing the work, ideally they're doing work that's a return on investment, right? So they're doing work that is creating outcomes in the community that, other funders can then say, oh, well, wait a minute, they are actually doing something positive. Okay, well, let's give them some money to support that program. And then it goes from there. You know what I mean? So we'll have one specifically on that topic too. Y'all know I'm gonna tell y'all the truth now. Now, without further ado, let me go ahead and bring on one of my mentors. Listen, Miss Diane, I was about to, I took it off. I was about to wear mine and I was going to have it to the side.
Well, this is a hair day that's not quite working. So
that's all right, because it's beautiful. That just shows how we're connected. Everybody, this is Diane Bell-McKoy. She is the executive director at Associated Black Charities, but she is also brings so much more knowledge and just value to the work that she's done over the years. And I want her to come on and talk to you all about it, because like I said before she came on, I'm a firm believer that we come in trying to do this work, but we need to also reach out to what I call our nonprofit elders, right? Those who have the wisdom, the historical context, who've been doing the work for a while, and not even just about only the professional piece, y'all, about the personal development piece. What does it take to get to a place or be able to have an impact on the community like Ms. Diane has had on her community? So I'm just honored to have you here with me. My Diane. So why don't I could read, your bio and things like that, but I want you to tell us, tell us, how did you get to where you are now? Like, what have you done to get here? What organizations have you been a part of? What have you done in the community? I want them to know.
So it's been a long journey. Mm-hmm. I would first start off by saying that I feel like at this point in my journey in the nonprofit sector, that I probably know a whole lot less than I did when So let me just say that. I'm going to claim that. I'm going to own that. And I'll talk a little bit about what I mean about that in terms of what that's been like for me. But I've had a long journey, both nonprofit and government. That's really what I've gone in and out of. And I started in the District of Columbia. Well, I actually started in Baltimore. Started in Baltimore many, many years ago. Those that know, when Bon Secours actually had a substance abuse program. Okay. And I was a part of that program, running their family support services. It was kind of one of the first in the country. But then went into, I have a graduate degree in social work. But I also have to tell you about that graduate degree in social work, that the whole time I was in graduate school, I talked about them like a dog, because I felt like social work was really focused on structural racism. Mm-hmm. And it really told the story of Black and brown people being broken. And I knew that wasn't true. Mm-hmm. And so I went through that journey, and one professor had that focus on systems theory. That resonated for me. I didn't quite understand it, but that resonated for me. And that always stayed in my head as I had grown on my career, better understand what systemic racism is. But I knew the way social work was defining Black people as broken, I knew that was not true from my lived life. Even as young as I was, I knew that wasn't true. I had my own mental health challenges during that period of time, and I knew that it wasn't about being broken. So that's really the backstage. You need to understand I come to this lane and in this space very much based upon my parents and what they gave me, what they gave me about family, what they gave me about being Black. And it was always very positive, whatever those challenges were, even in our own household. But I knew that we had strengths. Mm-hmm. And so that's where I came from. And I left Baltimore and I went to DC, and I went in DC government for a number of years and through lots of different steps in DC government, including being deputy director for child welfare. Mm-hmm. For me, it's always been about Black people. That's who I am. And I knew that we had strengths. I knew that it was positive, and I started off in kind of clinical, and I knew that wasn't really speaking to the strengths of all the families I ran into, whatever the challenges they were having, whether it's foster care and that. I knew that the system wasn't responding to them the way they should. Mm-hmm. So lots of my career has been trying to change the system. And so that wasn't any different when I was in DC and I was in charge of changing our child welfare system. And because I knew it wasn't being responsive to children and families. But that is my emotional home. Mm-hmm. I tell people, so I had to come back to Baltimore. And in coming back to Baltimore, worked inside of Kurt Schmoke's administration, and had an opportunity to really be in touch with community. Community is just really important to me in terms of, because that's where people are. That's who knows what's going on. And so I did lots of stuff in that lane, and including lots of the earlier stuff with Jim Brown, Sandtown Winchester. And I love that experience with the Sandtown Winchester community and all the strengths that lie in our communities that people don't talk about. It doesn't get written about, it doesn't get in the newspaper, and it frustrates the heck out of me. But I think I grew over all of those different, from management to even when I went inside after Kurt ran the Empowerment Zone. But I also went to Casey Foundation. So I had a little bit sense of philanthropy. Even before I went into Casey, I had a relationship with lots of national foundations who had a partnership with Kurt Schmoke as mayor. And so I got a chance to see the inside of the funding world and what that was like. I also knew that they also were practicing that we were broken. And I kept looking back against that. Mm-hmm. So that's really who I've been, is always kind of being clear that our community had solutions, and I wanted to be a part of that. I wanted to be a part of connecting anybody in our community to resources, to information, to relationships. I often describe myself as a great connector. I love connecting people and to relationships and the people that they don't know, and it can help benefit them. I believe immensely that just for the grace of God, that I had the opportunity to have lots of relationships, but I understand the value of relationships, I understand the value of mentoring. And I was very intentional for lots of my mentors in my life to go up to somebody and say, I need you to mentor me, or I want you to mentor me. I asked, I didn't wait. Yeah. I knew the value of relationships with people who I didn't agree with, and I would go up to them in terms of that. I knew the value of all of that. But I have to tell you, that journey where it takes me now, it's important to know, even with all that and all the education that I did Kennedy School of Government, that I got clear that a part of being a Black woman in this lane, lots of challenges of living and being in between the world of lots of people with resources, white, and then being developed in a white supremacist system and being developed with my white girl beliefs from that journey. And now in the process of decolonizing myself, really being clear that, equally so, that all of us are enculturated in this white supremacist model of this country. And that really meant for me, how do I now come away? How do I now come away from? How do I now begin to become a different person, understanding the value that's there, even though nothing's changed about my belief about Black and brown people, but in terms of how you interact with people changes in terms of that white supremacist framework. And that's clearly not healthy. And so for me, it's a part of getting in a community and having people help me begin to change that journey direction for me, because the work that we do, I know without a shadow of a doubt that where we are as a community is really the root issue is structural racism. And I've said that for probably the last 25 years of my career. I've said that over and over again. I knew it was not about people being broken. I knew it was systems were broken. And so I've always kept pushing on that.
Yes.
That's my story.
Listen, you done dropped a couple gems already. And before you came on, was talking about the importance of connecting to the community and building relationships, right? And not creating or coming up with a vision and saying, oh, this is my vision and I want the community to embrace it. Like, no, it's the other way around. They have to embrace it and say that it's actually something they need. But you said something too about mentorship, which, for me, I've shared this with you, when I was 25, trying to start that organization and run it, I didn't have mentorship. I didn't know how to ask for mentorship. Like how, for those who are watching, and I said that too before, look, we are just so connected, because before you came on, I was like, don't be afraid to reach out to a nonprofit leader who you are close to, or that, you have a rapport with, to ask about mentorship before you start an organization, but how do you do that for people who don't know how to do that?
So I simply say to people all the time, it's a matter of simply, right now, obviously you can't walk up to them, but it's reaching out by email, and saying you want to do an educational interview. I mean, I can't tell you anybody that I know that would not give you the time to say you want to learn from them. People may not have the time to be a formal mentor, but if you ask anybody, say, I really want to learn from you, can you teach me? Do an email or give me an hour and share with me something. It literally, or finding people that know somebody that you're trying to reach to. That's my tool that I always figure out, that I'm going to find somebody that knows somebody that I need to reach to. And I reach out to them and say, will you make the introduction? Even I may not be able to make the cold call because I may not get their email, but there's somebody that knows somebody. And the wonderful part about this region, there's always somebody that knows somebody, and really being able to connect. And so I would say, do your homework, figure out who is in the lane you're in the lane you want to go in. And it doesn't have to be here. In this virtual environment, you have the ability to reach out people across the country who will likely give you that opportunity to talk with them by phone, to talk with them online. This is a particular time that I don't think we ever envisioned. This is the plus side, the only plus side of COVID, in terms of being able to reach out to people all across the globe and that have some nuggets that they can share with you, and will gladly share with you. Do the research, reach out to them. I would be very surprised if probably not a large percentage of those people would not respond in a positive way to your outreach to them.
Thank you. Because I mean, people, and one thing I've learned too is that people love to share, information that they feel like is going to be helpful for somebody else. So y'all don't be afraid, to reach out and get that mentorship, because it's all about relationships.
Yes,
you said something else too about decolonizing our own thoughts, right? So no matter how we feel, especially as leaders of color, no matter how we feel about ourselves or about people in our community, and knowing that, they are capable, and that, all of these great things that we don't necessarily hear all the time, but there are ways too that just by socialization that we perpetuate some of the very same practices that we are trying to fight against.
Yes.
So can you tell us a little bit more about that? Like, when did you decide that, okay, I'm going to unpack my own stuff and kind of look at it, even on a personal level, but then even in the context of an organization? Like, where do you start with that?
So I had, I'm fairly transparent kind of person, and I put everything out there. And I had many of you in the audience that are from Baltimore know this, that I had a really rough period a year and a half ago with the whole drama with our former mayor, that we ended up being used. And I didn't know that. And through that journey, it was just horrible. But out of that, I also didn't recognize what I had been doing even before that in terms of my team. And so in that journey, my team said to me, I know you're going through stuff, but we don't feel like you're hearing us in terms of that. And, I really had to take that to task. And it's pretty traumatic in terms of for me to realize that people I believe very much in, that I wasn't there for them and couldn't. And so that was my wake up call. That was my look at myself in the mirror to say, Another part about who I am as a person that became a part of that wake up call for me is I happen to know a lot about people and situations before most people know that I know it. I'm an empath. And so I pick up other people's energies, and I can tell you oftentimes the truth before people are willing to acknowledge their own truth. But there's a handicap with that if you don't understand it, because then you don't make room for other people. And what I've learned is you got to make room for other people. That's a part of that. And so it's been a very intentional journey for me to be mindful of making room, to be mindful of respecting and pulling in the gifts of all that others have to offer you, and that nobody gets anywhere without a collective team. And that means examining yourself, examining when you think you may know something, and you may, but it really is okay to make sure the people around you have a voice and are blending with that. Because other than that, you're not an island by yourself, and you don't have all the answers. And unfortunately, as a leader, I have to tell you that all the training I had as a leader, I would like to toss out the window right now in this sense. Because what it taught you in part of my growing up, because you got to be mindful of who you are personally. So I got baggage in terms of growing up, that I was responsible as a caregiver for my siblings as my parents got divorced. And so I was a responsible one. I had to take care of everybody. Well, you bring that stuff with you as an adult. And I brought that with me. And so I felt like, I had to take care of, I got to do this. I got to do it. Well, no, you don't. And no, I don't have to have all the answers. And it's okay to say, I don't know. And I don't know. Please, I beg of you as people in the persons in the nonprofit sector, to get comfortable with that, being uncomfortable with not knowing the answers, and creating a family, creating a community around you that you can go to for the answers. I have a group of women, Black women, who I can share with, who I say, I don't really know what's going on. Can you help me? And I'm really okay now in any environment saying to folks, I don't know what's going on. I don't understand this. Somebody got to help me. This is what I don't know. But there was a time. It was a time that I would not admit that out loud. I couldn't say I didn't know. I felt like I had to go figure it out. I got to. That's really crap. That really is an invitation to unhealthy mental health, to think you got to know it all. You don't. And it's okay that you don't know it all. It's okay that you want to respect and need other people to join in that. And for me, it's taking my team is going through a whole training around racial equity. And that's the body of work we do, but it's also letting my team hold me accountable and being a team, and my not being the answer, using processes where they get to decide as we're going to determine if we're going to go back ever post-COVID. Well, that's not my decision. It's a team's decision. They're doing the work. And so they had to come up with what the recommendation would be that I took to the board. But they also, personnel handbook, was done a very corporate way. And I went, oh my God, when I looked at it with these new eyes, oh, that can't be. So I gave it to a team, volunteered that they wanted to take that apart, and they revised it and they put it in a way that was more respectful of them as Black and workers. And so that I took it to the board, and I'm going to fight. We need to do more holidays. We need to give them more personal leave since we can't pay the salary. So we need to find other ways to be supportive, because our team are in fact the essence of whatever we have to offer in partnership with the community and whatever we do. Just as we respect our community is our teams. In terms of whoever that is, that has been part of respect. So that's been my journey. I'm still on it. And I will be on it in terms of continue to grow.
I love that. Everything that you said is just so on point, because those are lessons that I had to learn too.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say fairly recently, maybe a couple years ago, because feeling like I had to have all the answers and people looking to you for answers and you got to figure it out. Or, no, if you have a team of folk around you who are capable and you brought them on because they're capable, y'all were attracted to each other and aligned with each other because they were capable. It's so important to let them be capable, and let them help and let them. I tell you, I just had a meeting last night with one of my teams, and because Miss Diane, I'm in I got a whole bunch of stuff going on, but and a couple of them were new to each other, and so bringing them together to meet, and as they were introducing themselves, one of my team members was like, one thing that I really love working with Shalita and working in this team is that I get to bring who I am to it. Mm-hmm. There's flexibility. Like, we have a vision of what we're all trying to accomplish, but we all get to do it in a way that we feel like we're bringing our full selves to the work. And that really blessed me so much, because I know how important that is. And you have to be intentional about that.
Yes. And making space for that, being able to be your authentic self, and every person's around you be their authentic selves.
Yeah. And be open to when people tell you that's something you need to fix. That's the thing. I think, I speak for myself in the past where maybe I was apprehensive about doing that, is because you got to be ready to hear when somebody tells you, oh, I don't agree with you.
That's right. You got to be ready to hear that. And that's okay. You got to be ready to hear. You got to be ready to hear.
Yep. Because if they care enough about you to share that with you, then you can grow. You can get somewhere from that, So we got a couple of I want to hop over in the comments, just to acknowledge that people are also agreeing. And the thing is, this with StreamYard and Facebook is you have to agree for them to use your name, or else it just comes up Facebook user. But Facebook user, thank you, said you never stop needing mentors. There's always something to learn. So you have to be humble enough. Always. I don't care.
Amen.
How long, we doing the work or whatever. And then this is a great conversation. I'm currently looking for a mentor and I hope to find my perfect match soon. Absolutely. Yes.
You will find I'm sure a number of you know that you'll find lots of mentors out there in terms of that. I can tell you throughout my life, and I continue, that there are different mentors that I've had for different parts of my life and different parts of my career. What I need now is different than what I needed last year or 2 years ago. And I'm now looking for a mentor for me, for where I am right now in terms of that. It's different. And that's okay.
Yep. That is okay. And that's another thing too, that was a myth that, I used to think you only needed one. You're supposed to have one mentor. No, I mean, you got your financial aspect of your life. You got your spiritual aspect of your life. You got all these different things that you're working on. And you need a team of mentors.
It's important to know mentors are not about age or experience. So let me be clear. I have a mentor in my life now that are younger than I am. So I want to dispel that in terms of it's not about somebody being older than you. And even for me, at least, a positive mentor relationship for me has been when I get something and they get something, it's really a give and take in terms of that. But it is not about age. It be clear. Right now, let me be very clear. So I'm looking for a mentor around technology because I am very challenged. Okay, let me be very clear.
Okay. I'll put your email address in here so anybody knows a mentor for technology.
I am very challenged.
And that's all good. And it is all good. Look, I want to shout out my cousin. Hey, Regina. Look, hey. Just wanted to make sure because I was asking people to share their name since Facebook won't show their name, and I like to shout folks out. So and I've got my little questions over here, but we kind of organically just kind of flowing with it, and you answering them already. We have one. Okay. So thank you for your time. Would you be so kind to reiterate how to ask the question when reaching out to a leader or a mentor?
So my experience has been, and I can just tell you my experience is I've reached out to a mentor or someone I'm interested in by asking the question of, can I learn from you? I am doing X, and I'd like to learn more about how you've done this or how you're doing it. And so my first entree to them is not, will you be my mentor? My first entree is, I want to meet them. Maybe I don't already know them. I want to know more about them. I want to know about how they did the work. So I reach out to them based upon the body of work that I'm trying to learn about. And I'm asking them to share that with me. Because that gives me a chance, it gives them a chance to know who I am. Oftentimes, if I don't know who they are. Now, I'll tell you, it's different if it's somebody I already know, because I've had situations where somebody I already know, and I've actually gone up to them and said, I really need you to be my mentor. And I need you to be my mentor for these reasons. I'm clear about why I need that. And we talk about what does that mean in terms of time commitment, what it would mean in terms of what I expect from them. And so it varies. If it's somebody you don't know and you're trying to get to know, then you want to ask more about what drew you to them. Ask about their work. Ask them if they'll share that with you. They'll have that conversation. You can go from there. At the end of that, you may discover, oh, this is a good fit. I'm going to ask them to be my mentor. Or you can say, can I come back to you in a couple of weeks if I have more questions? You can go back and then ask the question about mentor. Somebody you already know, you can go straight up and ask them about being your mentor. I would say it is whatever you're comfortable with. So I would say that over and over again to anybody. Do what's comfortable for you.
Yes. And also, when people talk about mentorship or having a mentor or being involved in a mentorship, they may not understand that it's a two-way street. You know, like if you're reaching out and someone has agreed to be a mentor, like how to be a good mentee? Like, how do you, what are some things that you should work to do or things that you shouldn't do with that?
All right. Keeping your commitment in terms of time, that's why I think it's important in the beginning and all along to negotiate what you're asking for, what you're expecting in terms of time, what they're willing to give, when and how in terms of that. And I've just recently learned through reading versus what the difference is between a mentor and a sponsor.
Oh.
Sponsor being somebody that really is your advocate inside of a particular organization. If you're in that really is going to push for you, that's going to be very intentional about making a way for you and help you get in that pathway. But they're also going to lift you up in a very intentional way.
Okay. I love that distinction, sponsor and mentor.
Yeah, I'm learning that. I just continue to read about what that looks like, how different that is.
Got it. Oh, and Sherry said, praise God, mentors have been a life source for me.
Yeah, me too, Sherry. For me too.
We cannot do this work, alone, and we shouldn't. Anybody else have any questions? Make sure you drop it in the comments. I know we have a couple of minutes left. We're gonna be wrapping up soon, but drop your message, your comment, your question to Miss Diane. Now listen, because she is busy. Look, and when we bring people on here to give you some knowledge, it's a perfect opportunity for you to connect with them and get some questions answered that you may have had for a minute. So Miss Diane, so how can one put, and you've shared, about this and some of what you've already said, but how can people position themselves to be the best leader that they can be, right? Since we already know that you have to build a team, it's about the people around you, and it's about how you show up as an individual. But then how for those, who want to make sure they're the best leader they can be? Because then you also said something too about everything that you've learned about leadership up until this point and certain aspects you throw it out the window. So what were the things that you want to throw out the window, and what have you learned?
The fallacy about professionalism, I think that's in some ways can be a fallacy and a judgment and can be a way for white supremacists to hold us off. In terms of how you're going to act and how I think that, that's important in terms of if you're going after money, you try and make that first introduction, but don't get caught up in that. The most important place to be is be in touch with yourself in terms of what you're comfortable with, where you are, who you are. Be comfortable with that and don't let anybody push back against that. You got to be comfortable with you. I think the other nugget I thought about that I wanted to share is not just mentors, but it's really, I've not achieved anything without people. I didn't do any of this. This is not an I thing. This is about lots of people pouring into me, lots of people supporting me, helping me. It's about my passion in terms of this, and people know that I'm passionate and belief about Black and brown people not being broken, and we can do something different. It's about relationships. every single relationship, I think is of value. Every single relationship. I have people from the community from years ago that I may talk to on a Sunday afternoon every couple of months just to check in with in terms of that. I miss not having that time to being out there in the community as I was very much for the empowerment zone and very much I miss that time to be with just everyday folks in terms of that. Sometimes being this role as a leader, raising money, because I have an organization that I got to raise money to pay salaries. I got to raise money. And so that's a big part of my job. But I also do that by relationships. That is purely relationships. I don't think that's the way it should be, but that is a part of how I've made it thus far, is just developing relationships in various sectors and understanding that lots of folks with money, even the work I do, although we're pushing back on structural racism, lots of my funders are white. But I've also got some Black funders. I've got a Black anonymous funder who this year gave us $100,000. But he has to remain anonymous.
Okay,
But that's a multiple year relationship that I've grown and I've got funders that give us $25 every year. And I'm so appreciative for that. I know how important that is, but it's about valuing and being appreciative of every relationship that's there, but also being clear about relationships that may be toxic.
Yeah.
Don't continue those. I don't care how much money. I'm sorry. My personal belief, I don't care how much money. If they're toxic, that's not healthy for the work you want to do, for you, for your team, for your organization. Yeah. But relationships can be very valuable to help you grow as a leader and see how somebody else does it. That's not a mentor, just an opportunity to be exposed.
And like you said, all money ain't good money, y'all. So at this quest of trying to raise the funds, you still stick, your boundaries, what you stand for, what you don't stand for, and you stick to them. So
I just said this that I want to give you, and I'll send it to you however you want to share it. But I got the benefit of being a part of a course, 4 weeks, 5 hours that one of our funders paid for me to go through. It's about increasing our fundraising ability. And gotten some slides and PowerPoints from there that I want to share and give it to you. I'm going to give it to everybody I know. If it's helpful, I want to make sure that you have it.
Yes, please. And you know what? How can people get in contact with you if they wanted to follow up or even?
My email is easy, D McCoy, DMCKOY @abc-md.org. I just say, bear with me. You might get an email back from me at midnight or 2:00 in the morning, in terms of just because that's what I'm opportunity to get to those emails as I'm juggling stuff. And it may take a day or so, but I will get back to you.
Thank you. And in the last 30 seconds, anything that you haven't shared that you want to make sure that you share?
No, just what I've said before is just please value yourself and know that you have value. I don't care all those things that it may be in your head, but at times it may be a negative. Just value yourself and know that you have value.
Thank you, Miss Diane. And we've got one. Someone says, great session, dropping jewels and planting seeds. I appreciate you.
I love you too. Thank you.
I love you. And you was talking to me today too. So look, I'm getting mentored right here. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
I'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
All right, y'all. So that was my Miss Diane. Thank y'all for joining. Look, next week, we're going to take a little break. So we're not going to have a hashtag nonprofit, no filter live discussion next week, but we will be back the week after that, which is the 16th of February at 12 p.m. Eastern. And I'll let you know who our guest is going to be. But in the meantime, if there's things that you want us to talk about or any topics or whatever, make sure you drop them in the comments, so I can make sure that either, I address them or I know people. So I'm gonna bring somebody on who are experts in those areas to talk to you all too, okay? And know that I am a nonprofit coach. If you're looking for someone to work one-on-one with you to help you with your strategic plan or fundraising or even event planning, reach out to me, y'all. Look, don't be no stranger. Let me put my little information up here too, okay? You go to ShalitaO'Neal.com. You can book an hour consultation with me, or if you just have a question about something, I am taking 15-minute initial consultations at no charge for the time being. So make sure you shoot me an email so that I can get you that link. Okay. And here's my email address. Shoot me an email really quick, and I'll send you the link for the 15-minute initial consultation. But subscribe, like, and share. If you heard some jewels that were dropped and some good information that helped you, share it with other people, right? If you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you share this video. If you're on Facebook, make sure you like my page so that you'll get notifications when we have our guests coming on. And then, you can interact too and let me know what kind of information that you need. So I truly appreciate y'all. Okay. And I'll put it back up there too for you, Miss Christy. Hold up so you can see my email address. Shoot me an email, okay? So that I can give you that 15-minute link. And until next time, y'all, we're going to be real, have fun, get results, and y'all be blessed. I'll see you soon.